assistant today.
Did you hear me say,
After chat.
I got you.
It is a pleasure to be here in front of my classmate, my school. I am a graduating senior. Can I get... Baby got another year to go. But first of all, let me give honor to God and let me thank the Student Affairs Department, Dr. Boyd Owens, Miss Jackie Johnson, Mr. Toby Dodgery. Is that how you say it? I'm going to call you Kunta Kinte. That's Kunta. So, the Student Affairs Department actually gave us the privilege, through the request of Mr. Scarborough, to go to Selma to celebrate the 55th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And I wanted to set the premise, so I'm going to see if my partner want to say something before I get started. You want to say something? You want to hear him talk?
Did you enjoy it? Come on, JB.
How y'all doing? I'm JB Boyd. Yes, I had a great time. It was a historic event. And if you're not familiar with Bloody Sunday, just quick history lesson. It has everything to do with civil rights. Civil rights. The Civil Rights Bill was passed in 64. 64, 65. It wasn't put all the way into effect until 65. It was actually passed in 64. But the southern region was still bucking, specifically Alabama, with Jim Crow law. So Bloody Sunday was an event that a few people lost their lives. A lot of people got injured. You know, for us to be able to vote today. So every 5 years they have an event where we go and we march and we cross the bridge and several other events. But that was my first time going, and like we see the documentaries, we see articles, we read books, but just going and experiencing it and feeling the presence and the spirit of those ancestors it's something you can't even explain, you know. So I appreciate Mr. Yarbrough, I appreciate Ms. Jackie, Dr. Owens for allowing us the privilege to be able to go, because it's an experience again that can't even explain with words. So I appreciate you all.
Did you do a good job? All right, let me set the premise, because you know, I kind of like to push the envelope in my work, but imagine a world that if you didn't have a job by the first of the year, you was arrested and you was hired out on a plantation, and you had to work that plantation until you paid a $50 fine. Now, $50 might not seem that much money. It might not seem that hard to overcome, but in 1950, $50 today's time is equivalent to $535. And the people that actually work the fields and work during that time made less than $2 a week. Imagine living in a world where you are a sharecropper. You are on this land, you was born, you went through slavery, and your wages of working the fields was a portion of the land. And that portion of the land was divided up, and you had to pay for your seed, your mule, your plow. So by the end of harvest time, when you helped raise that crop, you ended up owing the landowner for all these debts that you incurred. Mm-hmm. Now don't think about running at this time, because the landowner can actually get you arrested for the simplest crime. He can lie on you. You can be arrested. He can do all these horrendous things with you because in the South, it was against, the law said that a black man couldn't testify against a white man. So he got away with a lot of things. This political process is called the Black Code, Jim Crow. Now, the Jim Crow laws actually started in 1866, but it was repealed during Reconstruction. During Reconstruction, whites that receded from the Union actually lost their rights in the South. So in the period of Reconstruction, you see an influx of black congressmen, an influx of black representatives and stuff like that. Now, that anomaly was short-lived because it only lasted 11 years. And by the Hayes administration, he pulled the final federal troops out of the South, which caused the whirlwind of laws that were passed to conduct and to monitor African American behavior and their livelihoods. So this span lasted almost 6 decades. Some were lost, many lives were lost over this period. Many of them were succumbed to an injustice of our criminal justice system. So that leads us up to March 7th, 1965. Led by John Lewis at the age of 25. And one thing that I wanted to point out on that is that these were young people of the civil rights movement. They were our age. They wasn't 40, 50 years old. Actually, Dr. King started the movement, became a part of the movement at the tender age of 28. So John Lewis, after the ACLU was like, nah, man, you don't need to do this. He was like, yeah, I gotta do this. So he led a march of estimated 600 people en route from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama. Before they actually made it across the bridge, they were met by state troopers, local police officers, and by the time they made it over the bridge, they were rushed. The police officers rushed them, tear gassed them, fought them, pushed them all the way back over the bridge. But God can't be mocked. Mm-hmm. So this caused 3 marches in Selma. We celebrate Bloody Sunday because this was the kicking off of the Voting Rights Act. This is what actually started it. Well, what started the march? The march was started by the death of Jimmy Lee Jackson. He was a veteran. He was from Marion, Alabama, which we actually visited his church. And they had a peaceful night march on February 23rd. The state troopers broke it up and they ended up shooting him for the night march. So John Lewis, the ACLU, and all of them got together and said, hey, we're going to march. We're going to do something about this. And we have Bloody Sunday. Anything you want to say? Okay. All right. So before we get into the slide presentation, I just thought that would be important to actually tell you the background and the importance of it is for people to, for you to take control of your own decision of what happens in your society by your own vote. And that is your voice. And that's why I
do want to add something. My mother, one time, my mother told me I should vote. And I said, Mom, I vote don't count. What am I going to vote for? And I'm going to tell you what she told me. For the simple fact, this event and many events before this took place. Even if you don't believe that our vote counts, just do it for the ones that came before.
So we created a slide video, a slide presentation on, it is called From Arkansas to Selma. This is the, going too fast. This is the beginning of the trip. You know what, Mr. Scarborough treated us so well. I have to give it up for him because he, we felt presidential, with the rooms laid out and, making sure that, Diana, she's a really, really hard taskmaster, but I love her. Okay, so the footwork begins. So we're loading up and we're actually getting ready to go to Selma. It took about 7 hours, but it didn't even seem that long. It's because the energy of the people that were around us was so pumped up and so ready to actually go on this trip that it didn't even feel like it was 7 hours. I closed my eyes. I don't know if I was asleep 7 hours, but he was. So here's the bond. The bond was we had commissioners all around the state of Arkansas to go with us. The commissioners are commissioned by the governor of Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken, right? The governor of Arkansas?
5 from the governor, 5 from the Senate Pro Tem, 5 from the Speaker of
Okay.
the House.
So 5 from the governor, 5 from the senator, and 5 from the Speaker of the House. So we were all there. We had a great time. This is the bond that we had. We actually had reporters that came. I think Channel 4 came, the Pine Bluff Commercial came, and they actually experienced this. Mr. Scarborough was actually working on a documentary at this time, and I guarantee you JB is all over because he got it. So this is the Lifetime picture of Bloody Sunday, and that's them walking over the A.M.E. Pettis Bridge before they was actually confronted by the state troopers and the local law enforcement. They was actually ready. So by the time, what happened was when they made it over the bridge, they was gonna kneel down and pray. And before they can actually kneel down, the police officers rushed them and pushed them back over the bridge. Just some people that we had to actually meet. We went to I wrote it down because we were some traveling soldiers that day. We went to the Historical Baptist Church where we actually met the president of the ACLC, Charles Steele. We went to the Legacy Museum. That's me and JB on the A.M.E. Pettis Bridge. Customized, we actually going to Selma at that time. Now this one was actually ironic. It's because at this museum, if I can go to it, at this museum right here, from 1877 to 1965, there has been documented 4,400 African Americans that have been lynched all around the country. So they actually created a museum for them there. And I actually found an ancestor that was there that was actually kin to me. So it was a very, very emotional thing. It was.
Yeah, he told me, because I was angry at the time. I was real angry about it. He told me not to be angry. I told him we got a right to be angry, as long as we don't act out on that anger. So, but yeah, this is a very, very emotional part of the whole event.
Okay, that's still different parts of the museum. I just put stands. I actually I want to give this slideshow to Shorter College. That way we can actually post it on our Facebook page. So I don't know if you can see this part of the museum. Once you come down under it, it's like it's supposed to be representations of hanging bodies. Every county all 75 counties in Arkansas have people in this museum and names in this museum. It was a very emotional thing. That's just some of the other things that how the columns actually looked. And then, due to the Pine Bluff commercial, and I'm from Pine Bluff, they actually wrote an article about me in the Pine Bluff commercial. So can I go ahead and So, coming to the bridge. You want to do the coming to the bridge part?
I did take this picture though out of my anger. I want to show you this.
Oh, yeah.
On paper right now for my class. That's the picture I took. They don't have that in the slide.
Well, the reason why they don't have it in the slideshow is because we wasn't supposed to take pictures in the museum. So. Okay. So we made it to the here's the historical First Baptist Church, and they actually. Okay, here's the historical First Baptist Church, and we actually got to sit in the pulpit, and Tom Steyer actually spoke. It was a lot of great representatives there. All of the presidential candidates that's running for office, the ones that's even dropped out, they was there. Because you know what they actually for? They actually for their vote. So we actually got to meet them. Just a crowd. Imagine 50,000 people in one area. No fighting. No arguing. In good spirit. Because of this, I ain't never seen it in my life. So, that was great. So that's one of the commissioners. She actually helped me with the slide presentation. Her name is Nicole Smith. Just pictures. I just never been around so many people in good spirit over something that was tragic in our history, but it was a good spirit. It was a good vibe there. Of course, we saw Al Sharpton, you know, he got to be there. Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Was that one of the Buffalo Riders?
Yeah. I did skip over him. Buffalo Soldiers. They actually led the march, escorted the candidates to the front of the line, because you can just imagine all these people that's standing in the street. Let's keep going. It's just people out of everywhere. You can just imagine how many people it was at that time. I think I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
I'm going backwards. Okay, forgive me. Okay, so the legendary First Baptist Church. This is where they actually met prior to the marches that they actually, the Dr. Martin Luther King actually preached at this church, and they would start here and meet here, get their stuff together, and say, how are we gonna do this? And this was the meeting area. Of course, you had groups from every place that you can think of. That's a clear shot of that day. Just, you see all those people right there?
Share again with them the name of the bridge, so in case they ever...
Oh, the A.M.E Pettis Bridge. It was the A.M.E Pettis Bridge. Now, this is what we saw. This is the view of that day.
Were you all a part of it?
We were in the mix. We were there. historical John Lewis. He was actually there. Martin Luther King III. And then this is a park on the other side of the bridge. It's a Selma Park that's right on the other side of the bridge. There go JB. And I promise you, if you watch Mr. Scarborough's documentary, I can guarantee you'll probably see it. Okay, there we go. I think that's the day we were wore out. We walked the bridge. And you know, I had to put my fraternity in this. So, but what was ironic about this is that at this time, when Dr. Martin Luther King actually did the walk, the Masons of Alabama did the exact same thing in 1965, and they did it in 2020. So it was a beautiful sight. The Voting Rights Museum, now that one was a tough one. So all in all, you had Elizabeth Warren there. And these pictures we're taking these pictures. So we had the Reverend Jesse Jackson that was there. It was just a beautiful experience, and I don't want to take too much time. You got anything to say, JB? You sure? Okay, so we're going to just conclude our slideshow presentation. I just hope that y'all enjoyed it as much as we did.